Hello everyone, it's Carbs here, and today we're going to talk about the BG Auto-Scroll 2.0 update. If you've not seen BG Auto-Scroll before, let me go ahead and explain what it is. BG Auto-Scroll is a toolbar for Aseprite that helps create seamless looping animations, scrolling backgrounds, or creating parallaxing backgrounds, and generally just making really nice and satisfying effects. So in today's video, we're going to go over all of the new features in 2.0 as well as the original features. And I'm also going to be putting chapters down in the description. So if you would like to jump around in the video or maybe come back to this later on for reference, those will be down there to do so. All right, so once you get BG downloaded, it's going to look like this. The Aseprite extension file. One of the benefits to this being an extension now is installing and updating will now just be as simple as double clicking. Aseprite's going to ask you if you want to install it, and that's it. So all the files are in the right place. We're good to go. Now, if we open up Aseprite, it's going to be located up here under Layer. So Layer, BG Auto-Scroll. And this will open up the main interface. Just to show how the tool works, I'm going to make a very, very basic example here. I'm going to make a line from one side of the canvas over to the other. And we'll do a little bend here. Just like that. We'll click on the cell. And then we're going to scroll to the left. Now we have this looping animation. We've inserted 30 frames, which is right here, you see. And then over those 30 frames, our initial image here is going to loop one time. And that's what this loop, scroll loops is. And then we just pick a direction, which we picked left. We could have picked up, which would do something like this, a little bit different. So this is going to scroll all the way up and back around. Awesome. One of the things I like to use as well when I'm doing these scrolling animations, we want to make sure that these two sides line up. And if you come up here to view and go to tiled mode, we can go ahead and turn on the axes. So this will show what it looks like when it's stuck next to each other. So again, if we draw a line here, we can see if I don't match it up, we're going to get to something a little bit weird here. And that's not going to loop correctly. And that's just a nice little tool there. I mean, like you can also do, if you go from the top to the bottom, this could also be useful for this as well. And then you get some cool stuff like this. You can see that we're getting a nice loop here. Let's undo this actually. So we've got the same base image. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer. So now we have a second one. And I don't know, we'll just change it to a different color. Let's do this color. So now we have this this other layer here as well. And we'll just call this beam 2. This can be beam 1. Okay, so now we have multiple. So on beam 1, we're going to go ahead, well, let's scroll it up this time. That'd be kind of fun. So it'll be going away from us. So now we have the beam going in the upward direction, right? And then, so now beam 2, I want it to go in the same direction, but I want it to go a little bit faster. And so what we'll do here is we'll change this scroll speed to 2. And what that's going to do is that means this image is going to scroll twice for the end of the 30 frames. So we'll go ahead, click on this and go up. So if I go ahead and just play this, you can see that we get a little bit faster. And that's because we set the scroll speed to 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a third layer into the mix. And this, we'll call this beam 3. And for this one, I'm actually going to draw another little line here. And this is just to show that these don't have to be the same. So this could be, you know, a different shape. It could be a different anything, right? And so now let's go ahead. We'll do beam 1 at scroll speed 1. We'll go up. Right? We'll go beam 2. This is going to be a 2. We'll go up. And then beam 3 will also go up. And we're going to set it to 3. And now what you'll notice is that when we play this, the third beam is actually going pretty fast. So we get 3 separate little beams here, which is pretty fun. Now, you will notice for a very slight, I think it's like a 1 frame, it looks like it kind of pauses. Yeah, right there. So you see right at the end, it looks like it kind of pauses. And what I've found out is there's some math here involved. And not that we need to worry about it, but if this does happen to you, just try adding 1 frame to your scroll speed or your insert cell. And I found that this actually works out okay. So now it looks like it is actually nice and smooth and nice and looping. Like I said, if you guys run into this issue where one of your frames at the very end is the same and it looks like it kind of pauses for a second, try changing your insert scroll cells, and that should hopefully fix it. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get to the good stuff now. In BG Auto-Scroll 2.0, there is a feature called Auto Parallax. So we can do exactly what we just did, but a bit faster. So let's go ahead and undo these layers, and that'll get us back to our base image, and we'll reset our scroll speed to 1. All right, so with Auto Parallax turned on, this will allow us to select all of our layers and go ahead and process them all at the same time. And this will automatically offset our scroll speed. So now you see we have the exact same animation, but much easier, much faster. That's a nice feature and a new one for 2.0. Okay, so let's take that same idea and we'll move over to this other scene that I have. It's this cool cityscape by Digital Moons. So you can see the railing, the road, there's the foreground, there is the midground, and then there's the background, and then we have the sky. So what we can do here is we can apply that same auto parallax to all of these layers and see how that turns out. Now, playing around with this a little bit, I went with 180, select all of our layers, scroll this to the left. Now, you'll see this starts processing, and this will take a little bit longer because it's going to do 180 frames. But then you'll also see that over here on the scroll speed, it's automatically incrementing up, and this will give us the look where each layer going further and further up is going to be faster and faster. So the farthest layer away from us is going to be the slowest layer. And you'll see that when I script through here, the sky is moving very slowly, right? And then the railing in the very front here is actually moving quite fast. And that's how we get our parallax effect, where everything is moving at a slightly slower speed as it goes farther back. And that's really cool. This also works with groups as well. So let's say if we wanted to have our 3 building layers in the same group, or maybe that's how we already have it set up. I'm going to go ahead and put these in a folder or a group. So now we have this group, and instead of selecting all these 3 layers, what we're going to do is we're just going to select the group. And what you'll see here is if I go ahead and scroll this, it will go ahead and scroll all 3 of those layers, just like we would have selected each one. So see, we still get that same effect of parallax, and it does everything correctly. So pretty neat. Oh, I should also mention as well, if we scroll either a group or a selected range of layers without auto parallax on, all of them will scroll at the same speed. So let's say if you have a character or something that has multiple parts and you want them to scroll together, you can do that as well. So if I go ahead and undo our last scroll here again, and I select this group and we turn off auto parallax, what will happen is all 3 layers are now moving at the same speed. So they are effectively kind of stuck together there. One of the most requested new features is being able to scroll just a selected area. I've gone ahead, I've put together a little string scene here that has just different colored strings, and they're each on a different layer, right? So all we gotta do is just select the area that we want to contain our scroll to. Now we have that selected area. If we select our cell and scroll this up again, you'll see that it now stays within the bounds of that selection. So now it just loops inside of here. And this is actually really powerful because now you can do all sorts of really fun effects where you need it to be done in that very specific spot. So this could be something like maybe you have a window, or you have a television screen, or maybe a picture or painting on the wall, and you want it to do some sort of a scrolling effect, but you only want it to be in that area. So this helps a lot with that, and I think that's a really cool feature. Everybody that's been requesting it, I get it. Here it is, it's here. So what about animation? Yeah, it's finally here. It's a complicated feature. Let me show that off. I'm going to go ahead and load up a scene that we made the other day on a live stream. So we have this cool little scene here of these floating skulls. Believe it or not, these actually started out as balloons. I was like, oh man, it'd be kind of cool as an example to have some like balloons that are floating up into the sky. They just kind of turned out to look like skulls. And, you know, we just leaned right into it and added in this little soul flame after the fact. And yeah, I don't know. I think they came out pretty cool. I think they're pretty cool looking. Let me show you though how we created this this effect here, and how we scrolled this animated layer here. So let me actually open up the version that is unscrolled instead. Here's the scene before we scrolled it. So the skulls here, they're just one single frame there, and then we have this 8-frame, this little like soul animation for the little soul flame, and then we just of course have the background. So let me actually rename these real quick. So BG, this will be soul flame, and then this will be skull. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's just look at our skulls first. So let's go ahead and scroll these guys up, and we're going to go with 32 because I think that's going to work quite nicely, and it's divisible by 8, which is what our soul flame is. So that's just going to work out. We will change this to 32, and then we'll set this to 1. And we'll select our skulls and scroll up. So now we have our scroll of skulls, and it's just scrolling up, right? And this just loops back around like any of our other scrolling backgrounds. So now we want this soul flame to be animated and also scrolling. Now the way we do that is we have these 8 frames of animation, right? Which obviously they're not moving, and we want them to move. So what we can do here is we can select all of these, and then we're going to duplicate all of these a few more times just to fill this in. So we're going to use this option right here, which is insert duplicate cells. So duplicate, 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 right? So that's going to insert the same animation for 4 times. But now to get this to scroll, we're going to need to use one of the advanced settings. So underneath this little drop down here, there's an option called scroll selected cells. I'll turn that on. Now you notice that the input box for the cells here disappears, right? So it goes away. Same with auto parallax, right? So this only works on one layer, and it automatically uses the selected cells. So we'll select these cells, which are our soul flame, the animated soul flame. And now what we'll do is we'll just simply scroll up. And now you'll see that we have the animated soul flame moving with the skulls. And it's actually as simple as that. And I guess what we can do is we can just go ahead and link this back up as well, just to get that background in there. And that's how we have this. So now here's something that's kind of unexpected. And when I was testing this out, I came across something that I didn't even know was a feature. This is like a hidden feature to myself. We can unscroll. Let's say if we wanted to add something to our animated soul flame there. Well, you can't just come in here and delete the frames, right? Because these first 8 frames, well, they're already scrolling. So we can't come in here and just duplicate it again, because that's that's not going to work. So instead, what we need to do is, if we select all of our animated soul flames again, and what we can do is we can scroll it in the opposite direction that we initially scrolled it at the same speed. So we scrolled it at 1. So now, and we scrolled it up. We scrolled it up at the speed of 1. So now what we can do is we can scroll it down at the speed of 1, and it will reverse the scroll. So if I go down, you'll now see that our skulls are moving, but the soul flame is not. So now we have reset our scroll. So now what we can do is we can delete these again. Now let's say if we wanted to add something to our soul flame animation, let's just turn off our skulls so they're not so distracting. And let's say if we wanted to add in some little particles or something here, right? So on each one of these, we'll add in, a couple little particles here and there. And I'll just do this real quick, and we'll do it for each frame. And again, I'm just trying to be sort of random here with this, just so it looks kind of like particles. So if we zoom out, and now we have sort of these little particle things that are going on. They almost kind of look like flies, actually. So, our skulls have been sitting around for a little while, and now they've attracted some new friends. So now we have that, right? And so what we'll do is we'll do the same process. We'll go ahead, select our cells, and we'll duplicate these to fill the rest of our timeline up. And then we'll select all of these and make sure that scroll selected is on, and we'll scroll them back up again. So this will go ahead and allow us to go back and add things, which I didn't even know was a thing. I kind of was like, hey, what happens if we scroll in the opposite direction? And there you go. That's the answer. You can unscroll. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, so that's that feature there. And that's how animation works. All right, so let's change our perspective a little bit, and let's talk about isometric. So isometric is always super cool. I've found isometric, the style is just always so much fun to look at, and really to see animations in isometric is even, it just takes it to the next level. I knew I had to add isometric support to the BG Auto-Scroll Toolbar. A couple weeks ago, we put together this example scene here using these assets from Pixel Sauvage, and it's his kitchen set. We've got these different layers coming in, these different elements, and you see they slide into the scene, and we've got the windows, we've got these different elements here. Everything kind of slides in and then sets down where it needs to be. So the table slides in from this side. We've got the chairs coming in from this side. So all of this here was done with the BG Auto-Scroll, and with the new isometric ratio setting. Let me kind of show you how that works, and sort of how we set this up as well. Okay, so I've got this wall here, this brick wall. Let's go ahead and scroll this using the new isometric setting. And we'll just toggle that on. And now these settings here, 2 to 1, we can tell what our isometric is because we have 2 pixels and then it goes down 1, and then 2, and then goes down 1, 2, goes down 1. So this is a 2 to 1 isometric perspective. If you're using something that's like 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, you'll have to change this. But that's why the input boxes are here. So that way you can use any setting that you might be using. So we know this is a 2 to 1. So we're going to leave that at default. And let's go ahead and scroll this up and to the left. Now you'll see that it moves. It looks a bit more right. And actually it should look exactly right. It's moving along that edge where the wall should be, right? And you can kind of see it a bit more clearly if I do something like this, right? Where you see the ghost image or the onion skin, kind of see that it goes straight across. And now the way that we did these different slide-ins like this, see how the table slides in and it sticks to one spot, right? We go back to just our regular layer here. Align last frame will make it so that our very last frame of the animation is this frame that we're looking at. So this frame right here is going to be the last frame. So what we'll do is we'll use isometric, we'll use align last frame, and then we'll scroll this up to the left. So now you'll see that our very last frame is actually that frame that we had in view, right? So if I undo this, you'll see that nothing changed because that was the frame. And now the reason why this is a good option to have is because if we want to scroll this in and have it stop at this location, what we can do now is we can delete these and then clean this up, right? So now we have this coming in. And then, so now you can see what happens is this slides in and then it stops right where this is the frame that we initially had. So we can make this kind of slide in animation just like that. And that's kind of how we did that on this example here, where each of the elements are sliding in. You can see that the wall stops exactly where it needs to be. So I didn't need to move this around, or I didn't need to, like, you know, figure that out. I literally just put the window where the window needs to be, did the scroll, and then just cleaned up the rest of the frames. That's kind of how to use this with the isometric. We might play around with this a bit more. I'd like to release some videos on playing around with the tool and just creating with it. So you might see some follow-up videos with this and maybe messing around with isometric a bit more. I would love to see what you guys do with this and what kind of fun backgrounds. I mean, we don't even have parallax in here. Like, how would that even work? I'm not even sure, but like, you could probably do some sort of layer system here with the isometric view, and it would still maybe work. So yeah, I would love to see how you guys get along with that. That'd be super cool to see. So that's those two settings. So I think the only setting we haven't covered yet is the fill cells down here. And this is kind of like a miscellaneous feature, kind of like insert duplicate cells, but a little bit different. So the way this works, if we go back to our Pixel City here, let's say if we have this this scene, right? It has the parallax. Let's say that we want to add in, like, maybe the road. We want the road to be there, but maybe it's not going to scroll. So we can select the road, and then if I unselect all of these settings here, and we go ahead and set this to the 180 frames, and then we go ahead and hit fill cells, it'll go ahead and fill the road in on all of these cells. You know, if I undo that, and if we copy this, another option that we could do is go to the last frame, and then we can also link cells, right? So that'll just keep a copy of that frame. Now, the only difference with fill cells and link cells, if I change any of these frames here, let's see if I put something here, it's going to be changed on all of them, right? Whereas if I use the fill cells to put this in here, we can change, you know, each of these frames individually. So say if you wanted to add something different in there, but you just wanted to duplicate it across your whole animation. And that's kind of what fill cels does. Also, you know, if we only go, let's say if we go like 10 frames and then we fill cels, this will just fill in the next 10 cells with the road. And yeah, that's fill cels. The last little bit here that I'd like to mention, so you saw me use it earlier. There's the minimize, which is, I think that was in the older version. This is something that's standard with my tools, just to kind of move it out of the way. If you want to keep this open, that is an option. And then also this info section. This has changed a little bit from version 1.0 to 2.0 because there's so much information in here and there's so many new features. I've decided to break this out into different little sections. So there's the getting started, which is this one here. And then you have like different selection methods, some of the advanced settings here. So each one of these has a little explanation on the page. And then if you ever need to get back to the first one, it's the getting started. This is the most basic explanation. There's also some buttons in here that, you know, go to this video. This will open up the itch page. If you find any bugs, definitely report those so I can try and fix them up as fast as possible. That's all of that there. All right, so that's probably going to do it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this in-depth overview of BG Auto-Scroll. This is sort of a thing that I've been doing lately with all of my tools, and I'd like to continue to put out an in-depth tutorial for all of the ones that I have available. And hopefully this is helpful. Again, there's chapters down in the description so you guys can jump around and reference this video. You know, leave a comment if you have any questions, or if you want to share some art, that would be awesome. I want to thank everybody for all of the support. It's amazing to be a part of this pixel art community, and you know, I love to see what everybody's doing. I do receive so many kind words, and you know, I try to work on these things as fast as I can, but thank you guys so much for your support on these. All this hard work does go into something, and you guys do appreciate it. So I will catch you guys in the next one, and we'll see you guys next time. Yeah, bye. Jeez, I still don't have an outro. I don't know what I'm gonna do here, but you know, maybe we'll figure that out one day too. Yeah. Sorry, I gotta go. Gotta go.